I'm the underdog with the heroic heart. I'm Eric Jones Jr. I have to keep pushing for my kids. If I give up, what's that leave them with? Nothing. I have to understand that it's bigger than me. That it's not about me when I wake up and go to work. It's not about me when I'm reading to educate myself. It's not about me when I'm practicing my speeches. It's not about me. It's about my family. Hey, you're now tuned into Underdog Talk. I'm your host, Eric Jones Jr., the underdog with the heroic heart, and I have conversations with successful underdogs. And today I have Mr. Dereck Reynolds. He is from Wichita, Kansas, and he has a foundation called Hug a Dad Foundation for Dads. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on and sharing about your foundation, especially with Father's Day. This episode will drop on Father's Day because Father's Day is on a Sunday, and we usually drop on Wednesdays. So appreciate you coming on and being a father, active father, not just in your household, but in the community as well. Before we get into our conversation, today's sponsor is Christian DeWine. Positive energy through your clothes. It's my personal brand. It's me and my sons. You can get t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts. I think that's it for kids, for adults, women, men, whoever. It's usually like a different saying. We definitely gonna have some Father's Day shirts. We're recording way before Father's Day, so I'm definitely gonna just check the website out. I'll have a promo code on Father's Day for fathers. You can go to christiandewan.com, use the promo code underdog talk, and underdog is spelled UNDERDAWG, and use that promo code, you get 15% off. So let's get into today's conversation. How did it start, fatherhood? How did that look for you when you first found out you about to have you a child?
I was working on the railroad. I was traveling. I was doing track maintenance. I didn't want to do it anymore. So me and my son's mother, we were together at the time, and we moved down to Texas where I was going to be a mechanic. I didn't have to travel anymore. So that was my initial, like, I'm ready to start a family. So we made that move, but it's crazy because I got sick. I found out I had heart failure, and she was pregnant at the same time. We found out at the same time, and it's just our relationship just went downhill after that. We just started clashing, and it went from us being okay to us being like mortal enemies. And she left. She had her family come get her. So I didn't find out about my son until he was 2 months old. But I knew I was having a son because one day I was just, I used to call her. I used to text her. I used to text her family members. I wanted information on, what was going on. And since she was keeping me, on the outside, I would just call. I would just constantly call whoever I could. And I looked her name up on Google, and I found a baby registry under her name, and it was all boy stuff. So that's how I knew I was having a boy. But I didn't get to see him or, meet him or whatever, like get confirmation until he was 2 months old. That was about like Easter. I called a coworker of a former coworker of mine that was also a coworker of her brother. And he got them to call me back, I guess. And that's what happened. She called me back, and we set up the meeting.
Wow, that's a crazy way to kind of find out. You find out you about to have a child. You're in a relationship, and you change jobs. You're like, all right, I'm ready to do this. You're like, nah, bro, we got something different for you. And kind of how life is. That's how life happens sometimes. It's not necessarily you did anything wrong. You were whatever the case may be. You got sick, health, stuff like that happens, and then sometimes people get sick, relationships go downhill for whatever reason it is. A lot of times, I know that personally from knowing people. Like I know people that got sick, and then either while they were sick or after, like the relationships for some reason turned left. That's crazy that you had to wait like that time where she wasn't like, hey, I had the baby, you come see him, blah blah blah. You had to wait all that time. But one thing I love what you said, you was consistent. You was calling. You call everybody. I'm calling my dukes. I'm calling auntie, uncle, brother. I'm go. Then you said you Google. Like, I mean, hold on, we can Google some stuff. So you Googled, and then that's how you found out. So I love that part about the story that you was consistent on figuring out what's going on because you knew you had a seed coming. You knew she was pregnant with your child. So it's like, okay, regardless what me and you got going on, I need to find out what's going on. So you find out, about your son and what is like the next few years look like after you find out that you have a son.
Well, so my son is 4 years old now. Like I said, we started this journey when he was 2 months. I was still living down in Texas. She had came back to Kansas with her family. So I used to drive up here and I would rent a hotel or I would stay with one of my homies used to live here. He had wound up moving out, but he was still here, so he would let me crash at his house sometimes. And I would come up here from Texas and I would see him. So then I lost the job in Texas. So I moved to Kansas City. I got another job in Kansas City. So I was coming from there. That was closer anyway. Chopped it down from 6 hours to 3 hour drive. So that was better. And I would come here, I would get a hotel room to see him. But, I was trying to work it out with her, just me and her. I didn't want to go to the family court system. So I came here and I would do the supervised visits at her dad's house, you know. And, I tried to play her game. I tried to see if I could make her feel comfortable with me being around her, but that didn't work. After a while, I got tired of her jerking me around. So I went ahead and filed the motion. Went and got a lawyer, filed the motion, and that was tough, man, because I was working at a railroad in Kansas City at the time. So I'm driving back and forth from there to here. You know what I mean? Sometimes after work, I have to drive here, come to court in the morning, then drive back because I work 3 to 11. Like I'd be doing that stuff all in a day. And it was getting to be too much, especially on my heart condition and on the job. I was mentally taken away from the job. I started making bad mistakes at the job. So it just got to be too much. And I just went ahead and, one thing they told me, we had to do mediation. And they told me if I moved here, that I would be able to see my son a lot more often. The mediator said the only reason why we're only giving you weekends, or the only reason why, just suggesting weekends, is because you live so far. You live 3 hours away. So eventually, I said, okay. A few months later, I wound up moving here. So I'm thinking I'm gonna walk in this office, tell this mediator, hey, you said what you said. I'm here now. And when I did, none of that stuff he said earlier was relevant to what was going on at the time. And, I had a situation where I was coming from Kansas City. I came here, I had a hotel room, and my son's mother wanted to know my hotel room number, but I didn't have to tell her. So I didn't want to tell her because every time we get behind closed doors, she liked to say that I put my hands on her. So I said, let's keep everything public. So I told her I wasn't going to give her my hotel room number. Now, you can call the cops if you like to, and if they come and say I have to, then I will. So once she seen that I wasn't worried about that, she called up few of her family members, mom, dad, brother, a couple people showed up, and her mother pepper sprayed me while my son was not too far from me because I was trying to keep her from leaving. So I was trying to stay close to my son and wait for the police to come. And while I was doing that, her mom walked up, pepper sprayed me. They wound up, prying my son car seat from me. So then they jetted off. They left. When the cops came, there was a witness because there was all types of people outside. And, a guy told them exactly what happened. We went to court and they classified it as a one-off. They said it only happened one time. So they just blew it. It was nothing. So the whole time I'm trying to figure out why I'm going to court mentioning this, that I got assaulted under court order, and nobody's caring about it. And then when I talk to other dads and they tell me their story that's way worse than mine, then I say, oh, okay, I understand why. Mine wasn't that serious. It's other dads going through way worse assault cases and issues that's way more complex and way more unfair than mine. That's why they don't care about my situation. So that type of thinking is all what went into me starting Hug a Dad Foundation. So now it's just, I get to see I see my son, and that's what I hear. I get to see my son. That's what I get told by my son, Mom, you get to see your son every weekend. But why I gotta get to see him? Why can't I just see my son? Why I gotta be the respondent? Why am I labeled as visitor? I'm his dad. And I teach him stuff that don't nobody else teach him. And I know that because when I go to teach him, he don't know
it. Exactly.
So,
man, I love your story, man. Like you didn't give up, and throughout driving 6 hours to have to drive in 3 hours, going to work, going through a situation where, luckily, your son might not remember that particular situation, but you'll always remember it. But luckily, he might not remember it. But that just sucks that something like that happened while he was around, and is could be prevented. But from you talking to other dads, that definitely is important with being a dad, by talking to other dads and just listening to them. Because sometimes you, like you said, you heard dad's story that was way worse than yours. Like your story is worse than my situation, because yours is longevity. I just recently got a divorce, and you go through all that different stuff. But it's not, our situation is not bad, so I won't say that. But it's just different. And then you hear it, and then it's like, you're like, okay, let me start a foundation. So what made you name it Hug a Dad? Like, what, did you have any other names, or that was just something that came up to your mind?
oh yeah, I was cycling through. I think maybe one other name, but the reason why I called it Hug a Dad was because, sometimes people make things a lot more complex than what it really needs to be. Sometimes we do that, other people do that, whatever. But I think if we really get down to the root, if you have a bad day, if you have a good day, whatever, if you come home from doing whatever you've been doing all day and somebody's there to appreciate your presence, give you something as simple as a hug, I feel like for any man, that make a difference, no matter what kind of day they had. If you just hug that man and this goes for wives, whoever, any man in your life that you love or that you care for, you respect, you give that man a hug. That's what that is. That's important to him, even though he might not say it. That's important to him, and that's how I came up with the name.
I love it, man, because you're definitely right. Like, even as a man, we're not gonna say we necessarily want a hug, but sometimes we
You
need
do.
a hug. We
You
like,
do. You want a hug?
yeah, but we might, like, like women, they more like, oh, they huggy. You might have, there's guys, and I do know guys that's huggers, but it's like you might not seem like you the type to hug, but like me being a teacher, like when the students come up and hug me, like, it mean, like, I'll be like, I feel good after that hug. So I definitely understand what you're saying. Or my son, definitely when he see me, especially if I pick him up from school and he not expecting me, he like, oh, he'll run up, or we do our handshake or whatever. And it's just a great
Yeah.
feeling to, like you said, know somebody appreciates you as a human, not as whatever your title is at work, not, not even just a dad, just being a man. Somebody gives you a hug and like you feel appreciated as a human. It's like, okay, I'm doing something right. Like that getting that hug makes you feel like you're doing something right. So I love that. So how did you necessarily like start the foundation? Was it by yourself? Is it still by yourself? What was that process, the beginning steps looking like for you?
Well, so like I said, I was in and out of family court. I was going so often. Sometimes it was from me filing motions. Sometimes it wasn't. I was trying to come up with, it's crazy when you think about it. When you think about how you're trying to come up with ways so you can see your own kid. Like I'm going to family court and they telling me that I'm not in the best interest of my son. So then who is? That's my question. That's my question. I mean, like, what do you mean I'm not in the best interest? Like, what, is it somebody else? Because to be truthful, if you have a single mother who's taking her child to, aunt house one day, uncle house another day, brother house this day, because she don't have no other options, we say she being strong and she doing the best she can. And that's cool. I respect that. But why would you tell me I'm coming here to see my son? At the time, I'm sitting around waiting on disability, to see if I was going to get accepted into, as disabled or whatever. So I can't work because I'm waiting for the paperwork to go through. So I'm going to family court saying, I'm here. I just moved here. I'm still getting disability money from, working on the railroad. My son might as well be with me while his mother works. That only makes sense. And they say, no, he's too young for that. He's too young to, that's going to be too much of a shock to his schedule or his routine. So then we don't even discuss what his current routine is. We just say that we know that going with the father is the wrong idea, regardless of what his current routine is. I wish at that time I had the mindset I do now to ask that type of question. Well, let's talk about his routine that he has now, and let's weigh the options. But for them to say that is completely wrong. So me as a father, what you think I'm gonna feel if I hear somebody else is in the best option for my son? I ain't got no criminal record. I ain't never done nothing to nobody. How am I not in the best interest of my own son? And not to mention, I'm the one that's filing motions. I'm a pro se litigant. I go to the court and pay my little $77 and file my own motion, write it all up, or get on the computer, post it, pick out the date on the calendar, all that. So how can you say that I'm not, like when I go to court and you tell me that I'm thinking of myself, I'm not thinking of my son? How can you tell me that? If I'm here, I could be doing something else right now. I'm married now. I got 2 kids with my wife now. Do you really, let's be honest. Do I need to be chasing the situation? I could have dropped that like so many other men do. And I could have said, you know what? They playing games. I'm going to just stick to what I got going on over here. But no, I'm not going to do that. But why would you tell me that I'm thinking of myself? Or I'm not thinking of my son's best interest if I'm going out of my way to stay in Wichita, Kansas, where there's not much to do? If I was thinking of myself, I'd be in a bigger city right now. I'm from a big city. Why would I stay here? That's for him. So when I go to court and y'all tell me that, y'all throwing salt in my face. So now he's able to go and be with whoever his mom allows him to be with. Nobody's going to check into that. Nobody's going to look into who he's with or any of that. It's just as long as he's not with his dad. That don't make any sense to me.
No, I don't.
And how is that the case? I'm a paraprofessional. I work in the school. And I got children. I got 2 kids who's younger than my oldest son. So you telling me that my oldest son is too young? Like I used to go to court and they'll say, I'll be asking to see my son. He's like 1.5, 2 or something like that. I'm asking them to see my son. They say, well, he's too young. He's too young to be taken away from the mother at this time. Let's just give you this little bit of time. And then I go home and my wife go to work and leave me at the house with my infant. And I'm like, that don't make any sense. I just got told that my oldest son is too young to be with me right now. But now I'm at home with my youngest.
Yeah, that's crazy to hear that, like, you hear stuff like that, but to actually hear that, like, that makes no sense at all. Like, to be an active father, like, you gonna go to bat for your child just like the mother would. So it don't matter, because parenting don't have we don't got a guide. Oh, you become a parent. Here goes your notebook. Here goes your workbook. This the journal. No, it ain't none of that. So it's like, no matter if a mom has a child, that don't mean she's a good fit mom. I'm not saying that your son's mom not, but just in general, just speaking, when courts do that to dads, it's like, this woman ain't even set to be a mom, and I am, and I'm trying to be the one to get my child, but I can't get him because I'm a man. That makes no sense, and it sucks for us as men that we have to deal with a lot of the bullshit just because of some stupid court system. When, if you look at it, majority of men run companies. The majority of the men run the world. So if we can run the world, why the hell we can't run our household? Why can't we raise our kids? That makes no sense at all to me. Like, if something was to happen to my son's mom, hey, my whole schedule, everything that I got going on, gotta change because he in my life. Like, when he comes to stage with me, it's like I gotta change my schedule for him. I'm like, I don't under that. I thank God that He never put me in any of those kind of situations. Because I'm gonna go, I might get locked up because I'm gonna go crazy. Like, what? I can't see my son. You watch your mind. Somebody would tell me that I can't see my son. Like, let me tell you, you can't see your child, and like, how does that feel? So that that sucks. And you're not the only dad, and it's a lot of dads in the world, and we're not just talking about black dads. We're talking about all dads go through this dumbass system that they have against us because of whatever reason. Now, there's some bad dads, but I want people to that's listening to think about what you said. You're filing the motions. You're trying to see your son. There's dads that not trying to see their son, and the mom like, oh, he not trying to see him, and then mom taking him to court. You're taking her to court just so you can see your son more than every other weekend. No, you can't do that. What kind of sense does that make? It take two people to have sex to have a child, so it take two people to raise a child.
Well,
not together. I'm sorry.
According to the court system, when you bring up something like that, it takes two people to have a child, so it's two people to raise a child. When you bring up something like that, you usually talk about financially. It's not time wise. The court doesn't care, how much time you spend with your kid, but they will regulate how much money you spend on your kid. They will expect that from you, but they don't expect you to build a relationship with the kid. And so when you say family court, what is family court? If you saying that you are here for the best interest of the child, well, how is it in the best interest of the child that I file a motion to see my son and I get told no? So now I have to pay lawyer fees because I asked to see my son. I don't have a lawyer, but I have to pay her lawyer fees now because she decided to go get a lawyer. And that's only because I asked to see my son. So what I did was I created this foundation, and what I want to do is I want to promote fatherhood, mentorship, and positivity throughout the community. I believe that as fathers we need to form our own community like a voting block where we hold our lawmakers accountable. If you're not going to legislate for these fathers' rights, if you're not going to legislate to change these family court laws, then we're not going to vote for you. Simple as that. We got to stop allowing these people to be in these positions without doing the work for us. And we elect them because they know our favorite song, or they know how to do the dances we do, or they, relate to us in some kind of way. But we need to cut that out. We need to elect people who go and legislate, because when you're looking at district attorneys and, these district court judges and, these state legislators and all these things, those are the people who make the laws that mostly affect you. We think it'd be the president or the popular politicians we see on TV. Now it'd be the local legislators. And we don't vote in the midterms. And that's what we need to start doing. We need to start voting in these midterms, because these be the guys who be, making these policies that hinder us the most.
Yeah,
And
you
that's what
definitely
we're trying to promote.
didn't
Oh,
mean to
that's
cut
one
you off.
thing we're trying to promote.
Yeah, didn't mean to cut you off, but that's definitely true. So, being transparent, like I didn't know that until recently, like maybe the last 2 or 3, maybe I'd say maybe the last like 4 years. Like you got to vote for the president or whatever, but then because around my birthday, which is in May, they had a other election, and I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't need to, and I never knew who to vote for. So like, I'm not even gonna go vote because I don't know even who these people are, because we don't realize that's who makes our community where we actually live run the way that it is. So you're definitely right. Like, I love what you said, a community, like as fathers, because it's when it's men together, like you can't stop a force of men that got a purpose. Like I don't care who you are, what's going on. Like when it's a force of men, they got a purpose and they all on the same page. You're not gonna be able to stop that, and that's gonna be able to. That's gonna not just be able to help with the voting, but that's gonna be able to help the community, educate the community. I mean, because we don't know that, like the small folks, and then we can be able to help the younger people understand. Like, don't just get hype on voting for the president, but vote for these people, and then kind of like I don't know how exactly how old you are. I'm 30. I just turned 36. So back when I was a kid, like the police was in the community. You know what I'm saying? Like you knew who, even though they might have been a dick or whatever. You didn't really like certain people because just how police are. But you knew who they were. Nowadays, you don't know who they are, and then they come into your community, and then the first thing they want to do is shoot. It's like, hold on, wait a minute. You don't even know that. So that I love that idea, and you said that's just one part. So, kind of explain your program, like your foundation, what it all consists of, and how can other communities, not just in your city, but how can other communities in other states, be helpful to you?
Well, it's funny that you just mentioned that thing about the police, because I'm actually on the diversity and inclusion panel for the police department in my city, my local police department, and we talk about that type of stuff all the time. We talk about that, about the police coming to our neighborhoods, knowing us, stopping, waving, speaking, things like that. So that's just wild that you mentioned that. But so what we want to do is we want to we want to change the way our young people, our youth are growing up right now as we speak. Um, we want to affect how, men are able to be fathers to their children, especially the single dad. And we want to help cultivate, positive relationships with families and stuff like that. So we come in on different angles, but, the important thing is like doing the things that's going to create that positivity. So like we want to bring a trade school. We want to bring a trade school to our community, where we could teach our young people different trades, um, especially like the foster care youth, the youth in foster care who are, in these, facilities and these systems, and they just age out, and they age out without any trade, without any training, without any serious education. So now they're 18 and they're homeless. We want to change that. We want to make it so that, by the time these kids age out of foster care, they have a trade, they have a skilled trade learned. And if not, they can stay in a transition house and learn a skilled trade and learn these different life skills that will help take them further in life. You know, we want to teach dads, you know, like I said, I'm a pro se father. We want to teach more fathers. We want to influence more fathers to be pro se, because these lawyers right now are making a killing off of us, off of our dysfunction. Um, when you think about it, what is a family lawyer going to do if families start sticking together? Family lawyers ain't going to make as much money. So their job is to divide the family by nature. If they don't divide the family, then they don't eat. So if especially as men, if we stop hiring these family lawyers and we just go on our own, especially the ones who don't have the complex cases, the ones who don't have the criminal aspect and all that extra stuff to it, we wanna start getting some courses together, start getting some people together, and we can teach our community, not just black people, but just men, period, how to go to court, how to represent themselves, and get good time with your kids. Because I mean, I get every weekend right now with my son, and I did that all by myself. When I had my lawyer, when I was paying for a lawyer, she was playing games with me, in my opinion. And one thing I say to look out for is when you go to court and the first thing your lawyer do is call for a conference and they go in that back room and they talk. My personal opinion is they are not doing you any favors behind them closed doors. Because why do they need to talk behind closed doors? Why can't they talk in front of you? And then what they do is they come back and they act like they tried and fought so hard, but all they could get was just this little bit. I've had lawyers lie to me. I've had lawyers tell me stuff that just wasn't true, flat out. And I'm paying these people. So we need to start representing ourselves. We need to get together as a community. We need to have it so that if one of us is having trouble, we can reach out to somebody and we can get the resources that we need. And that's what, that's what the Hug a Dad Foundation is trying to be. We're trying to be the resource for the community. And we partner with, my mentor, he has a foundation, it's called Dad's Care Too. He hosts book club. We have fatherhood meetings, every week where we could just come and talk about what it is to be a father, what it is to be a husband. I myself has gained a lot of knowledge in these meetings myself. I never lived with, a man. I didn't have anybody who was married. I didn't know how you were supposed to be as a husband. So I'm learning all this on the fly. And it's difficult. And I feel like every man needs somebody or multiple people they can go to vent these frustrations and get back experience so that you can help, improve your relationships.
Definitely.
Because having advice from people who've been together for 20, 30 years is what's, helping me, navigate my relationship in such early years.
Yep. I love everything that you just said, like in the way that you want to help dads, but not just help dads, but help the community, and being able to be a resource for people to get information that they might not necessarily know about, that's out there for them to obtain. A lot of stuff is easy to obtain, but we don't know about it. And just for you wanting to give that information out, and definitely, it's kind of like barbershop talk, but it's a little more grown talk. Like we get around the right kind of old heads and OGs, and they telling you, they've been married for this long. They telling you, nah, this ain't what you. That's the reason why married because I got around men that were married. You know, my marriage didn't wasn't my first marriage wasn't successful, but you know, I still learned a lot from being around different men and how to be a man. Like you said, when you don't have a dad or you have a dad, he's not showing you how to actually be a man because a lot of times we think a man going to work, coming home, paying the bills and all that. It's a lot more to you want to be a successful man. So I applaud you for everything that you're doing and have done, and I to hear more about your foundation. I definitely gonna have you on again so we can see where you know what's going on, what how far you came. So give some dads 3 tips on things that they can do to be a and dads that are maybe it could just be dads in general, it could be dads going through court situations, whatever. But from your perspective, what are 3 things dads can do to better their situation when they're not with their child's mom?
Well, I think when it comes to being a father, when you're not with the kid's mom, I would say you have to try from the beginning. Try to approach it and calm way. Try to be pleasant, work it out, things like that. When you find out that you can't, just make sure that you're diligent. Understand that anything and everything you do is going to be something that's going to be critiqued. It's never going to be enough. I've been in court, to say I was a bad dad over dingy socks. You know, people get it all different kinds of ways. I'm a bad dad because I don't show up. I didn't show up right on time to pick him up. You know, and so this is the thing, right? Like you got to be able to see the attacks because the attacks are going to come. And it's gonna be attacks to try you. Like for instance, I'm a bad dad because I wasn't able to pick up my son right at 10 o'clock when I'm supposed to. But if the night before, when I called you and asked you, hey, I got something to do in the morning, I might not be able to be there right at 10. Can I pick him up now so that I'm not late tomorrow? And then you say no. But then if I show up late tomorrow, then you use that against me and say, I'm not a good father. I show up late, things like that. You got to be able to see these attacks coming and don't let them get you out of your character because that's what they're designed for. Don't let nobody, if you a father and you know what you're doing and you know that you fighting to be in your kid's life, then nobody can question you. And you got to be able to build up that confidence to know that. Um, I would say that don't give up. Exhaust every option. This is number 2. Exhaust every option for your kid. Never give up. Just imagine how you would feel. If somebody fought for you, imagine the admiration that you would have for that person. And that's what I do. I use that anger, because I say nobody can tell me about my son. Nobody could tell me, what's best for my son, especially you not even around my son. And that anger that I feel when I feel disrespected as a father, I take that and I try to use it in the most positive way I can. That's how the foundation started. That's how we trying to do positive things in the community. That's how we're trying to build, these different resources for fathers, veteran fathers, just homeless people. We're trying to help, you know, we trying to help build up our community because we see like with this COVID thing, think of how many young people lost their guardians, their mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa. How are these kids gonna grow up? If you give these young people a couple minutes conversation just to let them know, that's big for them. That's important for them. I've seen it personally. So I would say if you're a dad, Talk to your kids. That's one thing I do. I talk to my son. My 4-year-old, we have conversation. Have conversations with your kids as young as you can. Let them know, how you feel about them. Talk to them the way you want them to talk to you. That's what I started doing. My son, when I would pick my son up, he would cry sometimes. And I started telling him, like, hey, don't you want to see me? I want to see you. I'll be missing you. I want you to come over, And then eventually he started talking like that to me. So just talk to your kids, show them, tell them how you feel. Be transparent with them in different ways. Just be there. That's important. And be active in your community. Be the person, be the man on your street to where the youngins on your block will point at you and say, "Nah, don't do that in front of him. That's Eric. He gave him some sneakers last time, or he gave him a shirt, or he gave him some advice. We respect him. We ain't gonna do that in front of him." And more, I feel like crime will dwindle. More and more fathers are in the picture. More and more fathers will be in the picture because everything is monkey see, monkey do. If I get a tattoo on my neck, you might get one too. So if everybody in your neighborhood is with their kids, 9 times out of 10, you probably gonna fall in line eventually too. And that's for the deadbeats, or not deadbeats, but the ones who decide not to be in their kids' lives, because we do have those as well. But for the ones who want to be there, stay there, and let's all apply pressure to this court system. And that's what I would say.
I love it. I love it. And one that one I love the most is having a conversation, because I definitely, from the time I took my son home, like, I've always had a conversation. I don't think I've ever talked to him in a baby voice, anything, because like you said, you want your child to be able to talk back to you, be able to ask questions, be able to feel comfortable talking to you. And like you said, like, don't just be a dad to your kid, be a dad to the community. And I'm definitely like that. Like, if I see something going on, I'm saying something, like, I'm getting involved. Like, what y'all got going on? Or if I'm at the park with my son, I see a kid, playing ball. Come on, you can play with us. Now my son got somebody. Now they cool and they conversate, and the kid feel better about just being at the court. And he was playing by himself. Now he's playing with somebody else. And then just showing other kids that they're actually dads out there. Because sometimes when you're an active dad and you go places, you might be the only dad, and your kid doesn't, he takes it for granted that you're in his life. But that's because they're young, and they'll understand as they get older, they're gonna remember, like, dang, my dad was always there. Homie, my bro dad, I don't never really remember seeing him. And you get to your child to appreciate you more as they get older, because they're gonna realize, man, my dad was always there for me. Or you could be the neighborhood dad, or, man, Mr. Such and Such, Mr. Reynolds, he was here, man. I remember he came to my graduation, man. I remember he taught me how to tie a tie, different stuff.
Exactly.
Like, that'll be able to help in the community. So before you tell everybody how they can reach you, how they can find out more about the foundation on social media or internet, period, what's an underdog quote that it could be something you live by, it could be something you heard, but what's a quote for dads for Father's Day that you
got? Oh man, we shall overcome someday. That's how I feel, because if we keep applying pressure, if people keep seeing that dads are there, we care. We speaking up. We speaking up about our issues. And then that's when people will start having to pay attention. We'll have to show them that they have to. If you don't pay attention, then we don't support that, or we don't vote for that, or we don't respect that, we don't welcome that, whatever it may be. We gotta learn to stand together and support each other.
I love it. Short, sweet, to the point. We shall overcome. And if you're a dad, especially, and it's not this might not pertain to like dads that's married, in their kids' life, but it's with dads just in general. Sometimes, because you, like you said, you're married now, you still got to go through the BS in previous relationship. So it's for this we shall overcome. I think that's what I might name the episode. But it's because
Can I say? Can I want to say something real quick to the dads who married though, because we understand to the dads who married, we still have a lot too. We still gotta run the household or try to run the household. We still gotta, especially for people like me, we gotta learn how to deal with certain situations, how to de-escalate arguments, how to, you know, keep the relationship intact, how to be faithful. Like there's things, and it's more than just, I used to think I could be a good husband if I'm just a good guy, but it's more than that. You got to actually do certain things in order to be a good husband. And so I would say to the fathers, and I just want to relate something too, because there's times when I have a bad day with my son's mother, but I'm also, having a rough day with my wife too. That's a tough day. That's a tough day when you having a rough day with both.
So yeah, like I said, I think I'm gonna name that because that's definitely something that dads have to overcome. I'm glad you broke that down for dads that's married too, because it don't stop. Not saying we're not looking at you guys because all dads are important. Because I think a lot of married dads that they can be more of the people reach out to you on social media, on the internet. How can they find out more about Hugga Dad Foundation?
If you can go on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm on all those platforms. Dereck C. Reynolds, my name, or you can type me in as Hugga Dad Foundation. If you type it in on Google, a few of my interviews, and usually like when I type it in, usually my social media platforms come up. So I would say, if you just go on Google and type in Hugga Dad, a few interviews, my social media platforms should pop up. I'm working on rebuilding my website right now. It's kind of outdated, and trying to revamp it and add some new stuff to it. So that'll be up soon. But you can also contact me at Huggadad, HUGADAD, at gmail.com. It's Huggadad at gmail.com. And I'm pretty easy to get in contact with.
Appreciate that, and I definitely will have the links in the show notes when the episode drops on Father's Day. And actually, Father's Day, I might have 2 episodes drop because I forgot that Juneteenth is actually the same day as Father's Day. So that's going to be a great Father's Day. It's going to be a lot of barbecue going on, and hopefully we don't got to do the barbecue.
Yeah, we will.
So you can listen to Underdog Talk Podcast on all of your favorite podcast platforms. On social media, it's Underdog Talk Podcast. Underdog is spelled UNDERDAWG. Underdog Talk Podcast at gmail.com. If you have a story, if you want to get on, if you know somebody, if you got feedback, whatever the case may be. Again, I appreciate you, Dereck, for coming on, for your foundation, and just the knowledge that you kind of gave a different aspect on being a dad and some of the stuff that we have to go through. Again, appreciate you. Definitely gonna have you on again so we can find out how the foundation is doing and how other communities, once you get it rolling, how other communities can participate if they, can do something in your own community. You got any closing words before we get out of here?
For closing words, I would just say that, strong families build strong communities, and I think if we can hone in on that a little bit more, and we can create, more transparency with our officials, and hold them to more account, and hold each other to more account as well. I mean, we all grew up. I'm pretty sure we grew up in the same culture. Where we don't really want to, we don't really want to do too much. Talking to the police, but at the same time, not all police are the same. So, we can grow in different ways, in different positive ways. And that's what I would challenge everybody to do, is just grow.
I love it. And on that note, peace, one love.